No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey, gardeners. Hope you're all having a great week out in your garden. Yeah, it's not so much of a great week for our figs out here in our alleyway garden space. Worst case scenario has happened around here. We not only got a frost, a frost would have been all right, but we had an actual freeze, a nice deep freeze happen over the last couple of nights. And this is my Chicago hardy fig right here, and it's a cold hardy plant, but that's for wintertime in dormancy. But once it starts putting out all of its leaves, these things are nice and soft and fragile to some of that frost and freezing. And boy, it really did some damage to this tree here. So, but one of the things is that these fig trees, especially the Chicago fig, is a super grower, if you will. This thing's gonna grow past a lot of this damage. Most of these leaves will probably come off, and new ones and new branches and all that sort of stuff will form. So ultimately it'll grow past a lot of this damage, but it sure is awful to see. Look, it looks like it's all dried out or been dehydrated, but it's got plenty of water. It just can't handle those deep freezes like that. But yeah, again, it'll be all right. All right, everyone, let's get growing.
All right, all my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts, welcome to the Let's Get Growing show right here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a really, really great show ahead for you here today on our Saturday show. We've got Jamie, Desert Rat Gardener, joining with us here in just a few minutes on our Are You Following Me? And our featured guest this week is our friend Scott Wilson from the Gardener Scott channel. Yeah, we're doing Ask Gardener Scott here on a Saturday. We usually have him for our second Sunday edition of each and every month, but something came up in the schedule, so we moved him up to this Saturday. So definitely be joining in with us here a little bit later on in the show to get all of your gardening questions answered with our good friend Scott Wilson from the Gardener Scott channel, joining with us here later on in the show. And yeah, great to have you all here with us today. And if you can, right here at the top of the show, let's go ahead and click that like button, hit the thumbs up, as well as subscribe. And also hit that bell notification so you be notified of all of our upcoming shows and videos and all of that here on the Urban Gardener channel. And definitely share with all of your garden friends out there and let them know that we're here each and every weekend. Yes, we are your 3-day gardening talk weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show. That's right. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we're also here again 3 days now. So we're here on Monday for an evening show. We've got the Green Room on Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, with our good friend Natalie from the Fresh Princess as our co-host for the Green Room shows. And we'll talk about more what we got coming up for this Monday as well. And let's also right here at the top of the show have a big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching us on the replay. Thank you, Team Replay, for being here with us. Definitely drop into our comment section down below. Let us know you're here. Let us know what you got growing on, all of that sort of stuff, or just stop by and say hello. I love to see all of those comments from all of you in the comment section. And I love to see all the comments from all of you who are here with us live. So definitely join in on the conversation if you're here with us live right now. In fact, we've got roll call coming up in just a couple of minutes as well, too. So let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from. Let us know what you've got growing on in your garden in the chat there, and we'll give you a shout out here in just a few minutes. And also continue to drop your questions and comments throughout the show, especially for our guests. when we got them here live on the show. We love to see all of those questions from all of you. So drop those into the chat. We'll try to get those in the conversation. Make sure we get those questions asked of our guests for you. Also, we've got links down below in the description as well to all of our guests and Let's Get Growing contributors. So definitely go and check out all those links. Go and check out those different channels and pages and all of that of all the great, awesome people who come and join with us here each and every weekend on the show, and go show them some support, if I could even say that. Go show them some support by leaving them a comment on one of their videos or posts and let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. Awesome. I love it when you guys do that. Not only is it a great way to support our guests. I can't say support today for some reason. Not only is it a great way to support our guests, but it's a great way to support the show as well too. So again, thank you everybody for being here today. It's so great to have you here with us here on the show. As you guys saw there at the beginning clip there, my poor fig trees. Oh my gosh. I was talking about this over the last couple of weekends about how I'm trying to plan to get ahead of some of our last frost date here in the Rogue Valley where I live in Southern Oregon. Things have been warming up. I mean, warming up really well, so well that those fig trees really just started producing tons and tons of leaves. In fact, that Chicago Hardy I showed you there just a minute ago too was already starting to produce fruit off of it and everything as well too, which is, a little bit early for us. Again, it's because things have been so warm. And so I was talking about trying to get ahead of things when it comes to my tomatoes. I like to get them out as early as possible, even ahead of my last frost date, if the soil temperatures are warm enough for them. And I was like, oh man, it's looking like, it's about time to get going with those things. And I was getting myself all prepared. I was talking about this last week, how I wanted to get ahead of it. And so I was just waiting. Right on the day I was thinking, okay, well, we'll go ahead and plan what day we're going to do this. I went on to the weather app to look, and I got, the 10-day forecast. And on that 10th day, it showed that there was a possibility of frost that was going to happen. So I was like, oh no. So now I got to hold off just a little bit to do that. And then it comes around to it and ends up being some freezes, not just frost. We had a couple of really, really hard freezes where there's a bunch of things out there that are just not enjoying life right now because of getting caught up in such a late freeze like that. Frost is one thing, but getting a freeze is just something else. And it just really wreaks some havoc on some of our plants out there, especially all those different fig trees that we got out there. But like I said, they'll grow past a lot of that. They'll just lose those leaves eventually, and they'll come off of it and grow new ones and all that sort of stuff, and it'll be just fine down the road, I'm sure. But what are you to do? I'm just gonna have to hold on. I do have a couple of my tomato starts that we've got here that are waiting right now to get out there into the garden. So they'll just have to hold on just a little bit longer, and we'll get them out here real soon. Things are looking like they're going to be all right from this point on. As I mentioned too, over the last couple of weeks, is I've regretted the last 2 years not getting them out kind of earlier, because you get them out right around last frost date, which is for us here in Southern Oregon is mid-May, right? And I get them out around that time, and then by end of May, beginning of June, it's summertime, man. And summertime just flips like a switch for us here. And man, we were seeing 90, 100-degree weather just right off the bat towards the end of May and all that these last couple of years. And it just really just puts, all that hot temperature on young tomato starts just really stunts them. We lose a lot of flowers. We don't get much fruit development, that sort of stuff. So trying to get them in a little bit earlier to get established better so that they can handle those temperatures when they come around a little bit better is what my goal has been. But we'll try to get them out. I'm pretty sure, again, we say pretty sure, but you never know what the weather is going to throw at us. But I think I'll probably be okay if we wait just a few more days and then go ahead and get them out there and try to get ahead of this just a little bit if we can and get them growing. But we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely see how it goes. So right on, everybody. I hope you all been jumping into our comments here and letting us know that you're here and where you're growing from and what you got growing on, because it's time for roll call.
My name is Kevin. Yeah. That is my name. Yeah. They call me Kevin. Yeah. Because that's my name. Roll call.
All right. It's time here on the show for us to give a shout out to all of our friends here joining with us here on the Let's Get Growing show. And right at the top of our roll call, let's go ahead and give a big, huge shout out to our good friend and show facilitator and producer, Jay Dixon, the J-Bot, joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Jay, for being here, and everybody keep an eye out in the comments for links and such that Jay will be dropping in throughout the show. And also, let's say hi over the Atlantic in the UK, our good friend Rob's Allotment Gardening, Rob's Attic, joining us. And he says, hope you've had a good week. We hope you had a good week, Rob. It was great to meet you finally for the first time on the show, in our community show last week. And great to see you here again this week. We also have us joining us from the UK, Cornwall. We got Sean the gardener with us as well. Thanks for joining us, Sean. Great to have you here with us today. And look who we got joining with us today. He says he's awake. It's really, really early too. It's also, as we like to say around here, the future, where Rick is at as well too, because Rick is joining us from down under in Australia right now, where it's bright and early. I'm just probably 4 a.m. or something like that though too. So thanks for getting up with us, Rick. It's great to see you joining with us here today for sure. And Rob says, starting to get my spuds out. Onions won't be long. Awesome. That's great. It's great to, like you said, get some of those things out that we've been waiting to get out into our garden spaces. And potatoes are always fun to grow. Yes, Rick says it is 4 a.m. with all the time changes that are going on all over the world right now. And yeah, that's bright and early though. We got Les joining with us as well too. Happy Saturday to you, Les. Thanks for being here with us today. Great to have you here. We've got Texas Organic TV joining with us as well too. Great to have you. Thanks for being here today. Aloha. Sounds like you're from Hawaii right now. We've got what do we got? Mesa joining with us here. I'm not sure if I got that right, but we'll go with that for right now. Hello from northern Minnesota, zone 3 and 4. Cold. It's 23 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. Ooh, chilly. Oh my. Bit too cold. A lot colder than our freeze we were dealing with the other day, that's for sure. EE2201, hello from Rainy, Ohio. Great to have you here with us. Thanks for being in the conversation today. We've got Robin Gardens as well, too, joining us from Chicagoland. Sunny and windy. I've been sowing and potting up manically, doing tons and tons. I know you got so much growing on, Robin. I can imagine it's got to be pretty crazy over there for sure. And then we got our other moderator and friend joining with us here in the chat as well. Adam Burley, my good friend, joining us from just right up the road here in Central Point, Southern Oregon. Great to have you here. And Les is saying, good day, Atlantic Canada, Zone 6A. Ooh, nice. Eddie, someone say hi, Eddie. It's great to have you here with us. Thanks for joining us on the show here. He says, I bought 2 6-packs of tomato starts today. Tomorrow night is supposed to be 41 degrees, so I might wait a day or two to plant them. Yeah. Definitely if you got a thermometer, stick that down into your soil and see if your soil temperatures are getting up there, close and around 50 degrees. That should help get those tomato plants started up right. That's what I look for. It's one thing, we're looking at overnights are really helpful as well, getting close to your last frost dates, but definitely be looking at those soil temperatures for sure. Robin says, just at the big box, 2 varieties of figs. Got excited, looked them up, and neither was hardy here. I hate when they do that. Yeah, you got to watch out. I mean, those big box stores will sell you anything from any zone, anywhere, and you got to watch out sometimes because you might just take something home that is not going to do well in your area, especially Chicago. You got to be looking for something that's going to be really hardy in those overwinter colds. So yeah, definitely. We've got Colorado Clouds joining with us from Colorado. Excellent. Great to have you here. Thanks for joining with us. Eddie's joining us from North Alabama. Excellent. You woke up in North Alabama again today. Hopefully that's where you're supposed to be, Eddie. Right on. Rob says, it was a pleasure to be on it was great to see you, Rob. Rob's one of our OG followers. He's been in our chat pretty much since the beginning of this show, and we finally got to meet him on one of our community shows last weekend. We also got Paul from Guten Gardening joining with us as well too. Great to have you here. Yes, indeed. He says he survived a week of chaotic weather. Yeah, I'm here. That's what I'm saying. It's really chaotic for sure. For us all over the place for sure. And we also got our good friend David from Bowtie Life in the Garden. Triple G greetings, global gardeners from the Emerald Coast of Florida. We're warming up into the upper 70s. No rain in sight. Watermelon patch is planted. The microclimate wins. Right on, right on, right on. And another Florida friend, we got our good friend Farmer Marshall. Hey, folks. Join with us here. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's great to have you all here again with us, joining with us on the show today. If we didn't get you shouted out here in our roll call, definitely keep jumping in throughout the show. Let us know you're here. Let us know all of your, again, questions too. I'd like to see some good questions coming up today because this is an Ask Gardener Scott show today. So definitely be dropping in all of those questions for us when Gardener Scott comes up here just a little bit later on in the show. So, all right, everybody, let's take a quick break here real quick, and we'll be right back. Meet our first guest of the day. Are you following me? We'll be right after this.
Ivory Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing, simply lightening your plants to better tolerate weather extremes, transplant shock, and so much more. Such a valuable gardening practice that farmers have been doing it since BC times. However, in recent years, most research has been caring for plants and trees using latex and tar-based products which are designed to last 100 years, but fall off your plants within 1 to 2 years as your plants grow, contaminating your garden soil indefinitely. Available in colors white or more natural looking colors such as brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivory Organic has 2 general categories of whitewash products. The 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which includes 7 natural oils including castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint, which offer insect and rodent repellent protection, and the whitewash oil-free formula. Both products also have diatomaceous earth in the base ingredients, which naturally offer some insect repellent protection too. As always, keep growing with Ivory Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening.
Hi gardeners, I'm Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista, and I'm here today with your garden trivia question for this week. Your question for today is, what makes obedient plant so obedient? And your options are, A, it's a very well-behaved plant in the garden. B, it's not aggressive and stays exactly where you plant it. C, when you move its flower heads, they stay where you position them. Or D, it follows all the garden rules. I'll be back a little bit later in the show with the answer.
All right. Do you know the answer to Brandy's trivia question? Definitely drop into the chat there. Let us know what you think the answer might be. And like I said, she'll be back here in just a few minutes here to give you the answer on our next break. And did you get a chance to check out our show this last weekend? We had a really great couple of shows for you this last Saturday and Sunday. Last Saturday's show, we've got to meet Noelle from Homestead Culture on our Are You Following Me? Really great conversation with Noelle and talking all about what they've got growing on here. Actually, just right, again, like our friend Adam, just right up the road from me here in Southern Oregon. So it was great to meet a a local gardener here on our show, as well as we had Mike McGrath back on the show. Mike McGrath is the host of You Bet Your Garden, the NPR syndicated radio show, and Mike is long career in gardening and gardening communications. He's been the editor-in-chief of Organic Gardening Magazine, Today Show, I believe, I might have gotten that wrong again. One of those early morning shows he was on for years, as well as, again, his radio show, You Bet Your Garden. So we had a great conversation talking with Mike McGrath last week. He's always a fun conversation when we get him on the show, and always some great stories to talk about with such a long career like he has. So if you didn't get a chance to check out that show, definitely go back and check out last Saturday's show, as well as last Sunday on the show was another one of our community shows. We love to throw these in every so many weeks or so to get a chance to hang out with all of you folks. That's right. Community shows are where you all are the guest, all of you, the audience. That's right. It's one of those shows where we get a chance to hang out with all of you who come and hang out with us each and every weekend, and put some faces to some of the names that we get to see in our chat each and every week. And what I do is like a radio call-in show. I share with you all our show link so that you can come and hang out with us here, kind of like like the radio call-in show, except for it's video, and we get to see you all and have a great fun conversation, talk about what you have growing on in your gardens and all of that. We had some great regular guests and contributors and folks joining with us, but as I mentioned earlier, we had our good friend Rob from Rob's Allotment Gardening coming to hang out with us for the first time on a community show. We finally talked him into it. So if you want to meet Rob and some of the other awesome folks that you get to hang out with in our conversation here on the show, definitely go back to last Sunday's show and check out our community show. It was really, really fun. We also, again, I would tell you about what we had going on the green room last week, but we did a last minute cancellation, unfortunately, last Monday. So we didn't get a green room show in last Monday, but we'll have one coming up this Monday, and I'll tell you all about it coming up here on the show in just a few minutes. But now it is time for us to get started here with our very first segment and our first guest of the day. It's time for Are You Following Me?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right. It's time for Are You Following Me? And on the Are You Following Me segment this week, we've got Jamie joining with us here, the Desert Rat Gardener.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing so well. How about yourself?
Doing wonderful, doing awesome. It's great to have you on the show with us today. Thanks for being with us here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to meet new gardeners here on the show. It's great to have you here on with us today. I'm going to give you a minute or two to introduce yourself to everybody here joining with us and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Jamie. I'm the Desert Rat Gardener on mostly TikTok and Instagram is kind of what I'm doing right now. But I live in Buckeye, Arizona. So that's kind of like a suburb of Phoenix. So it's
Okay.
really, really hot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
No rain barely anymore, so
Yeah.
it's got its challenges to grow out here for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Again, as I'm talking about it, we just had like a little freeze that happened here, and it's like messed everything up and all of that, but
Totally.
that sort of thing. But can imagine where you're dealing with the opposite in Arizona all
Yes.
the time, where it's just these extreme heat. And we get plenty of that, as I was talking about with my tomatoes just a little bit ago. I mean, it
Right.
does kind of turn into almost Arizona all of a sudden around here in Southern Oregon, and we get some really extreme heat and everything as well. So I got to deal with those challenges a little bit too as well. But you're already cooking down there, right?
We are. Yeah, we actually, a couple weeks ago, we already hit like 105, 107,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
so early.
Well, yeah,
So
you
early.
had that thing that was going in the Southwest. We had a little
Yes.
bit of it, like some of the out edge of it here in Southern Oregon, where we were kind of getting close to 80 something for us, while all
Yeah.
of you were in the hundreds
Yeah.
in Southern
Yeah.
California and Arizona. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
that.
It's crazy because usually it was like, that's like late May, June weather. So to have that kind of weather in March was crazy, and you're
Hmm.
not ready for it then, you know. I don't have my shade cloth up. I don't have anything. Like
Yeah.
fortunately it's the spring, so like the lows actually drop because in the summer our lows don't get
Yeah.
low. There's
Yeah,
no
they don't.
break, you know. So
Yeah, again, and that's a similar thing for us is once we get to that point with summertime for us, the overnights just don't cool down enough sometimes, and that
right.
can really cause the major problems with some of the plants. If you get a warm day, but it cools down at night, that's really helpful for the plants. But if they get no
Exactly.
break, then it becomes a problem for
Game
sure.
over. Yeah.
Game
Yeah.
over for sure. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your growing and gardening story here. How did you come across gardening? Is this something you've been doing your whole life, or something that's kind of new to you?
You know, it's so funny because it's like I don't come from like my family doesn't garden or anything like that. I moved
Yeah.
here from Southern California, but it's so
Okay.
funny because when I was little, I would always see people like, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I told everyone I wanted to be a farmer, and I've been
Yes.
telling everyone that for a really long time. And my
Right.
grandma would be like, "Okay, sweetie, like sure thing, you know."
Yeah.
But like living in Southern California, I just never had the space to do it. I never had a backyard or anything like that. So I did start gardening over there in a community garden when I was like, I don't know, maybe like 12 years ago. And that was okay, but I was mostly doing pots on my balcony and this and that. So I moved here closer, almost 5 years ago. And that's when I had my
Okay.
backyard. So that's when I really started to like experiment and get out of the pots and learn how to garden.
Yeah.
But the climate from California to here, even though we're both 9B, the conditions are completely different. The soil is different, like everything is different. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
that's a big change from there, even though it's still pretty south. You move towards the desert more, and it just changes
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you're pretty new to gardening then, ultimately, right?
Yeah, as
Just
far as like on a bigger scale, yeah, because they're doing
yeah,
the little pots is cool, but there's only so much you can do, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but as far as having my backyard, I've only been doing it for maybe a little over 4 years here in Arizona.
Okay. How big of a space is this that you've got?
So my backyard is about 900 square feet. However, I've got little children, so we have a play
Oh,
swing back there. We have a
oh, right.
trampoline. So my little garden
Yes.
area is probably about a third of it. But now I'm
Okay.
trying to like squeeze everything that I can on the outskirts and like keep the
Yeah.
toys for my kids, but be able to
Right.
expand. Because as you keep gardening, you're like, oh, I want to try this. Oh, I need to add this. Oh, I want
Mhm.
to do all these things. And you're like, oh, where am I gonna fit it? Now it's leaching into the front yard, trying to figure it out. But my main garden space is probably like a third of it at like 300 square feet.
Yeah, yeah. Once the
Yeah.
gardening bug really hits you, for sure,
Ye-
you're looking for
Yeah.
anywhere and everywhere you can grow. I've got stuff on carport rooftops. I'm out in
Yes.
the alleyway. We're working on getting things done in the front yard and all of that sort of just wherever I can find to grow
Exactly.
something, right? Because you just want to grow anything and everything you can, right?
I know. And then you see other people and they're like, well, I'm growing this. You're like, well, I want to grow that too. Start getting FOMO when other people start growing things that you don't have.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, especially
super
there
fun.
too. And I'm sure you follow a lot of Arizona gardeners. We had
Yeah.
Sophia from
Yes.
Arizona on a couple weeks back and everything. So there's several folks that are down in your area growing. Is there things that you've kind of been like you mentioned, being kind of jealous that other people locally are able to grow and you're still having a challenge with?
I know. Well, the thing about Sophia is that she's got everything you could possibly think of under the
Yes.
sun. And I'm like,
Crams it
oh
in
my
there
God.
too, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I mean, we have the same
Talk
size
about a
backyard,
jungle.
but no, exactly. And she has that microclimate, so she's able to grow a lot more than I can as far as
Yeah.
like tropicals or other things like that. She even has her house plants outside, like the monsteras and stuff like that, because she
Hmm.
has that nice canopy.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps the humidity a little bit, as much as you can get in this area. But for me, I'm
Yeah.
wide open. I don't have any kind of trees or anything like that because I kind of like annuals. Annuals is
Right.
my thing, and she loves
Yeah.
like the fruit trees and stuff like that.
More of the
And if I'm
perennial
shaded out
stuff. Yeah.
too much, then I can't
Mhm.
grow the annuals that I want to grow. So
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have some sun, but they gotta
yeah,
still I gotta have some
yeah, I have to have like
it's a there's a
certain
balance you
microclimate.
gotta try to create there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But it's super cool. I mean, lots of people grow all sorts of things.
Mhm.
She's got me to do I put a sapote tree out back. That's new to
Yeah.
me because she influenced me to get something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Try to get a couple fun trees. I love the fig trees. Fig trees are easy out
Yeah.
here, but yeah.
Yeah. I bet you they'll grow really well.
Oh, yeah.
My poor figs. You probably didn't get to see the very beginning of the show. I did a little video clip showing my fig trees out there, and we had a freeze that came through the other night. And with all the warm temperatures we've been having lately, those trees were like, oh, it's springtime. It's
Yeah.
time to grow. So they're out there putting leaves out like crazy. The Chicago even had a couple of fruits that are forming finally or already.
Right, right.
And I'm like, okay, this is great. And then we had this freeze coming. I got leaves shriveled up like crazy out there. Like these
No.
poor things. Yeah. It's
Such
like
a bummer.
yeah, it's like this again too. The same thing with some of the spring flowers and the tulips as well too that are out there because they're all like, oh, it's great, and they're out there just getting big and putting out
Yeah.
the flowers, and then overnight
mind.
comes around and they're like, oh no.
What a bummer. So did
Yeah.
it drop all its fruit and everything, or?
No, so far, well, the fig it's still holding on to it, so hopefully
good.
that'll be okay. And in the
Knock
long
on wood.
run, those
Yeah.
leaves will just fall. It'll grow new ones, and it'll be
Right.
fine ultimately when it comes down to it. But the poor thing just looks like looks so disheveled right now. It's like, what
Oh,
did you do
no.
to me? But yeah, figs though, I bet are really great down there.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other really great stuff that you can grow down there. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorite annuals that you like to grow in your garden.
My favorite, I look forward to it every year, is watermelons, because the
Mm,
watermelons love the heat.
yes.
They can withstand a decent amount of heat. I just actually
Yeah.
planted them maybe like a week ago, and I'm doing
Yeah.
an in-ground watermelon patch this year. So I'm very, very excited about
Getting
that.
in ground then. So
We're
you've
getting
been
in
doing
the
them
ground.
you've been doing them in containers then.
Yeah, I have raised beds.
Okay.
They're not super raised. They're about, a foot off the ground. We
Okay.
use a fence post as my garden bed. So it's like 2 6-inch fence posts, and just kind of do it that way. So I feel like sometimes if the roots are deep enough, it does kind of get into the ground, but like with how much
Yeah.
all the compost and stuff like that, and it kind of, I don't know, it does really well not being so close to the ground, but I still feel
Mhm.
like it was kind of contained, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
our soil
Yeah.
is super, super compact. It's clay pretty much.
Yep.
So it's gonna be, I think it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but I'm excited to do more in-ground stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah, if you can get the soil right, again,
Yeah,
and all that stuff is good. In-ground's always the best way to go when it
that's what
comes
I'm
down,
thinking. Because
especially
I've
with
been
bigger plants and bigger fruits. When you want big
exactly, that's the
fruits,
plan.
you want big, good root systems, and, you want them to be able to expand out and reach all of the nutrients they can in anywhere within your soil and that sort of thing, so it's good to have
Mhm.
them spread out and again, spread out too.
Yeah, that's what I
They like
wanted
to
wanted
get
to
going
do.
too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that would be super fun. I mean, I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Hopefully, well, just because, like I said, our soil is very not well draining at all. So I try
right.
to prep the area before I plant it and everything, but we'll see how it goes. I'm
See
very
how
excited for it.
Yeah, fun
Yeah,
experiment for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Wickershire Project's in the chat here with us today and asks, Jamie, have you heard of a watermelon called the Desert King made for
Mm-hmm.
your area?
Yeah, I've actually have a couple like internet friends that grow that. It looks super delicious. And they seem that they get pretty big, actually, those watermelons, but I personally have not grown those ones yet.
No,
Um,
yeah,
no, I haven't. I want to, but
yeah, you
that's
got to
not on
get
the
some
list
try.
this year. Yeah.
Didn't make the list
Yeah.
though.
No.
No,
There's so
it's on the
many,
reserve list then, right?
I know, because it's like with tomatoes too. There's so many, and you're like, ooh, which ones do I grow? But I only have space for, you know,
Yeah,
4 or 5 tomatoes. So trying to pick is really hard. And then you go, oh, next year. And the next year you find other varieties that you didn't see the year before. So it's
yeah.
hard.
It is hard. It is hard when you become a gardener and you get to see all the cool things that you could possibly
Yeah.
grow. It's the big it really is the big thing though too that we discover as we first start growing and being able to garden and grow our own food is the variety that's out there.
Mhm.
We're used to buying stuff from the store. You go see those certain type of watermelons, maybe the little mini ones or whatever, and you got those
Mhm.
couple to choose from, and then you go hit a seed catalog when you
Yeah.
wanna try to pick out what you gotta grow for your upcoming season, and look at the varieties you get to choose from.
Totally.
So yeah, and with small spaces, we only get to do so much, you know.
Ugh, I know that's the hardest part. And like I said, I'm trying to slowly expand, but without taking away my kids' stuff. But it's hard, you know. So
Oh,
with
it's
the
got to go,
watermelon
right?
buds, I know the
Kids got to
watermelon
park.
buds.
The kids got to park down the street,
Actually, they
right?
really do.
They got a
But you
whole
know,
playground at the school,
I
right?
know.
Yeah, they got. There's a take them out on some activities, right? Mom's
Right,
got to
I
have
know,
her
and it's
space in the
fun.
back, right?
I know, and they think it's cool too. It's like a secret garden type thing. So I'm like, well, it's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like its own
you,
playground, you know, and they can eat the peas like they love eating the peas or things that they can
exactly.
pick and whatever. But I'm having the trampoline almost act like a shade cloth for the watermelons. So the watermelons are going to
Oh,
grow
there you
under the
go.
under the trampoline. So
There you.
hopefully that'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah. Get
But
it
yeah.
right up around right at the planting base of it. Let everything kind of
Yep.
come out from out and do
That's
whatever, but
exactly what I'm
have
doing.
that one little spot protected, right?
Yep.
That's great. That's great. Oh, talk about Sophia. There she is there. Ah, hey Sophia, good to see you here. Awesome. Awesome. So which varieties are you going to grow as far as
Oh man.
watermelons? What
So
made the list?
well, okay, so last year I did a Jubilee and I just thought that was the most delicious watermelon I've ever had in my life. So I'm doing
Mm,
Jubilee again because I wanted it again. And then I'm doing something orange glow because I just thought it was a fun color. I'm doing
yeah.
a what's it called? A black diamond because I love the black diamonds and you can get those in the stores and I feel like those are good every time. So I was like, might as well
Yeah.
grow my own, you know?
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
believe there's one that was
Any like yellow fleshed
the
or
orange glow was
anything?
the only one, and the art
Mm.
combi is another one I'm growing because that was the one that was discovered, I think, I don't know, I think it's the Grand Canyon in like a
Oh,
cave.
one of the cave
Yeah.
melons, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. And since it was, found out here, I was like, that's kind of a fun thing, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I mostly got going on right now. I think there was one more, but now I can't remember.
Right.
Oh, it was a royal golden. That's what it was. So it's like
Yeah.
a golden watermelon on the
Hmm.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah. So what of these annuals you like to grow or want to grow that has presented the most challenges? Maybe one that you might have even thought of giving up on or have.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure there's some things that are really
Gosh, that's a
difficult
tough one.
being in such a warm area.
I know. I think the challenge, though, I think we can grow a lot of things. I think the
Yeah.
challenge for Arizona is the timing.
Timing. Yep.
So getting the timing right before the heat comes, because that heat is not a joke. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Especially in the summer when we're 115, 120, and then the lows are 90 and 100. So it's kind of like it's so hot. So I think
Yeah.
the one thing that I actually have had trouble with year after year getting the timing right is dahlias. Dahlias getting that
Oh,
to
okay.
flower for me.
Hmm.
I have not nailed the timing down. I know it can be done because I've seen people do it, but
Yeah.
I personally have not. I've tried every year. I've been here out here, and every year I failed. And I
Oh,
want
yeah.
to
But you
so
keep
bad.
trying though, right?
Yes,
That's
I'll
why it's
get
kind of the
it.
question is like, maybe you want to give up or you quite haven't, maybe you
Hmm.
have.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some of them like for me, each year I'm always challenged with my brassicas and growing broccoli and getting again, it's timing, it's all
Yeah.
this other sort of stuff. But some years are good, some years aren't, that sort of thing. But it's my yearly challenge that I go through every single year.
Yeah. We all have one
And
of
I don't
those.
give up. I just don't
Yeah.
give up.
You're like, this year I'm gonna do it, you know?
Exactly.
Because actually I had a friend send me a dahlia tuber and I was like, oh man, like I don't want to kill it because my friend gave it to me. You know what I mean? Especially when you're
Hmm.
gifted things, you want to have it thrive in your garden. And man, she sent it to me, I think a little bit too late. It's out there right now, but I was like, I don't think it's gonna bloom just because of how warm it is. It's been so warm. We had a warm winter and it's been incredibly warm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll
the
see.
heat and the heat and the warm weather is definitely going to be a big challenge for a lot of folks this year. I'm
Mhm.
most certain. But again, it's a yearly challenge for you every single year being in the desert, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. I love the name, Desert Rat Gardener.
Thank you.
How'd you come up with that?
It's so funny. I don't know. It's so crazy because
I love how some of us come up with our names sometimes. It's
it's
really
so
great.
funny because I didn't even intend to start, being on the internet and
Yeah.
My husband was like, you know what, you should do your garden and put it on the internet. And I was like, there's so many other people that have done it. Like Sophia's
Right.
been on the internet for a long time. And there's
Right.
another creator named Angela who's been on doing it. And I'm like, well, what's different about my garden? And my husband's like, just do it just for fun. So one
Yeah,
day I
yeah.
just took my phone and I recorded my mammoth sunflower. And that year my mammoth had gotten close to 13 feet. It was pretty
Oh,
big.
wow.
It went
Yeah.
viral immediately, the first video I ever posted. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, maybe I should do it. It's just kind of fun. So I just started doing it. But my handle at the
Mhm.
time was just my name. And I was like,
Right.
well, shoot, if I'm gonna do this, I should just like have something more exciting. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm the Desert Rat Gardener. I literally did it in like two
Yeah.
seconds without even thinking about it. And it just stuck. And I was like, okay, that's me now. And
Yeah.
now people just call me the little rat,
The
you
little
know, little rat. Yeah, I have a really good friend who owns a nursery out my way, and he just calls me La Ratita when I
Oh,
come in.
that's
Yeah,
great. That's great. I love
he
it.
calls
And
me the
I
local
find that the
nickname.
case for a lot of folks, especially those on Instagram and all that, is that, it's just something you're kind of doing for fun or maybe just
Yeah,
for yourself and family or friends or whatever. Let me post some pictures of some stuff. And so you come up with a name real quick that's kind of fun or
yeah,
whatever. And then all of a sudden videos and things are getting some attention and you're stuck with that name now. You got to
yeah,
keep it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Is it?
For me, it turned out good because now I kind of like it. Now the little
Yeah,
rat has been a term of endearment, but I
exactly.
love it.
That's wonderful. I love it. That's
Yeah,
that's great stuff. Again, too, is I love folks who are, taking that extra bit of that extra step, when it comes to gardening and growing and learning and discovering things like you are with your garden and your backyard there in Arizona and everything is taking that next step is sharing it with others,
yeah,
because
yeah,
each of us are growing in different places, that are kind of unique to what we grow in our areas. But there's also a lot of folks around us, as well too, that are, online and looking for resources and
no, it's
and,
true.
and things that that compare to where they're growing from. So I love seeing people
Yeah.
who are just jumping on and throwing out what they've got out there because it's going to be helpful to somebody for sure.
And I didn't even realize that, beforehand, because like I had said, I was like,
Hmm.
there's people already out there doing it. But then it's like there's space for everybody, really, when you get online. And then people are like, oh my gosh, you inspired me to grow this and that. And I've met
Yeah,
so many of my neighbors too, which is crazy. Yeah, there's one lady, I guess she lives like in the neighborhood north of me. And she
yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I've been following along because we're so close to each other. And I planted bachelor buttons when you planted bachelor buttons. And now
Oh
I have a
yes,
beautiful, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's local and that's super fun. You meet new people. And that's how I met Sophia and a lot of other people
yeah,
that, we kind of vibe with. And it's cool because then people will see my videos and be like, I didn't even know that you
yeah,
could grow all this stuff here. That's
yep.
crazy, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly, and that's why it's awesome folks are getting out and sharing and doing things even on a
Yeah.
whim, just to see what happens because you never know who you can help in the long run when it comes to getting started. Like you said, folks are like, I didn't know I could do that,
Yeah.
and it's really cool. And then, like you said, you get to meet this just great and be not just meet but be part of this just really amazing
Yes.
online gardening community that's out there, which is just the whole reason why we do this show is
Yes.
that years ago my same thing for me is I just kind of got on as a whim to kind of see what I could do and all of that, and then next thing you know there's just meeting and connecting with all these just
Yes.
amazing people throughout the gardening community and stuff, so it's really 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 awesome.
No, it's
And-
true.
yeah, yeah. So before I let you go, though, tell us a little bit more about Desert Rat Gardener and what you've got coming up here in 2026 and all of that there.
All right. Well, 2026, I feel like every year the goals get bigger. You know what I
Yes, they
mean?
do. Yes,
So,
they
and then a
do.
lot of new things. So, the watermelon patch was one of the biggest things. And then I have a few new plants that I'm growing. I'm trying growing smoking tobacco. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, tobacco's fun.
Yes. Because I'd grow the flowering tobacco, but I was like, this time I'm going to do like smoking tobacco, see how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
Um,
grown them before as trap plants
oh,
because
okay.
they grow and they're really sticky. So like all of your like
Yes.
little small like whitefly or aphids and these they stick right to those plants. Like
Yeah. Same with the
it's
the
like
flowering
glue.
tobacco. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just all the little things stick to it. So I'm
Hmm.
really excited about that one. What else? I'm growing a new squash, a lot of new squash. I'm growing a tromboncino this year, so it's like those
Oh yeah, those are
big
cool.
long ones. So there's just fun things. I added new trees. So I got new fig trees. I added a mulberry tree last year. So this year it's fruiting and doing all its things. And a
Cool.
lot more in-ground gardening this year. So learning like a lot more about my native soil and appreciating it for what it is and not being like,
Yeah.
oh, it's, just clay and it sucks. I'm like, no, let's figure it out. You know what I mean?
Figure it
Because
out and build it up and work it
yes,
and get
because
it
the native
going.
peoples have grown here for so long. It's like, why couldn't we do that? It's just, I think learning how to work with it, I think is going to be another goal this year, to really appreciate in-ground gardening this year.
Yeah, yeah, no, that sounds great. That's really awesome. Right on. And again, thanks for taking your time to come and join with us here on the show. It's just really great to meet you and to learn more about what you've got growing on over there at the Desert Rat
Yeah.
Gardener. And I encourage everybody in the chat or joining us on the show today to definitely check out her link down below in the description and go follow along with what she's got growing on here in 2026.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with us. It was really great to meet
Anytime.
you. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we'll definitely have to have you back. Thank you again so much.
Take care.
You got it. Hey, gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
I'm back with the answer to this week's trivia question. Do you know what makes obedient plants so obedient? The correct answer is C. When you move its flower heads, they stay where you position them. Obedient plant is not exactly an obedient plant. Although you can move the flower heads and they'll stay where you position them, it's quite aggressive in the garden. It grows underground by rhizomes and quite vigorously by seed. And you can contain this plant pretty easily by deadheading it, collecting the seeds later on when they're mature, or dividing it, which is a great way to share it with friends. Now, why might you want to share it with friends? The reason is because this plant is a pollinator powerhouse. So many pollinators are attracted to obedient plant. It supports native bees, moths, butterflies, and hummingbirds. It's a host plant to some moths and butterflies, and its foliage is used by leafcutter bees. If you would like to support biodiversity and native pollinators in your garden, you might consider obedient plant. But be sure to seek out this straight species, Physostegia virginiana. Any other cultivars will not support biodiversity quite so well. Obedient plant is native to a massive part of North America, essentially the eastern half. So if you're in that part of the continent, you might consider adding obedient plant to support native pollinators in your garden as well. And that's your garden trivia for today. Thanks so much for playing. Enjoy the rest of the show and be sure to pop by and say hi at the Suburban Gardenista on YouTube and Instagram. And there'll be a link for you down in the description below. Thanks again and happy gardening.
All right, here we are back at it here on the Let's Get Growing show. And thank you so much to Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista, for her trivia question this week on the show. Did you get the question or get the answer right to her question? And again, thank you, Brandy. Go and check out Brandy at the Suburban Gardenista. A link down below in the description. And also, we've got some great shows ahead for you this weekend here. We still got, like I said, we're your 3-day gardening weekend here at the Let's Get Growing show. And tomorrow on the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show, it's the 3rd Sunday of the month. That means it's time for our monthly gardening book club with our good friend, Mr. MBC. Mark Brochet Colbert joins with us live live tomorrow on the show for In the Garden and our book club, where we're going to have joining with us on the book club, Emily Murphy, author of the book Grow Now. Emily will join with us, talk about her book Grow Now, Go Beyond Organic, Rewild Your Land, Sequester Carbon, and Support Biodiversity. So definitely come and join with us tomorrow for another really great fun book club here on the Let's Get Growing show. And then, of course, Monday evening, we've got our new show, The Green Room. That's right, we got The Green Room with Natalie and I. Natalie from The Fresh Princess is joining us as co-host, along with our guests for this Monday evening. We've got Julia D'Amacos, the gardening girl, joining with us, along with our very own Shawnee Grows, joining us, our Grow What You Eat contributor for the Green Room, will be joining with us live as a guest for the show. So that's going to be really fun shows coming up both tomorrow and Monday evening here on the Let's Get Growing show. So definitely be sure to come and join along with us for those really fun conversations. And all right, everybody, it's time today again. What kind of a different kind of day for us today, having our next guest on. We usually have our next guest on the second Sunday of each month. He joins with us to answer all of your gardening questions. But we had a little schedule change this month, so we've got him now on a Saturday show. So let's welcome to the show our good friend, Gardener Scott. All right. Let's welcome to the program our good friend, Mr. Scott Wilson, Master Gardener, Gardener Scott, joining with us here on the show. How's it going, Scott? How you been?
Good. Sun's out. It's warming up. Had a frigid night last night.
Yeah. Oh, you had a frigid one, huh?
Yeah, we've had warm days, almost 2 weeks with the nighttime temperature above freezing. And so all the plants are popping. Fruit trees in particular are going nuts. Last night it dropped down to 21 degrees.
Oh, well, 21.
Freeze. Yeah. So weeks of warmth, just bam, zapped a lot of plants.
Zapped. That's right. So at the beginning of today's show, I do a little video clip, kind of show a little clip of something growing on in the garden and all of that. And today's clip has to do with exactly what you were talking about there, is that it's been warm around here. So, all of our spring flowers have, been growing like crazy and doing all that sort of stuff. Well, I've also got my fig trees out there growing, and they've been producing tons and tons of leaves. They're just, they're like, it's springtime. Yeah. It's great. And then just over the last 2 nights, we've dipped below freezing, got down like, upper 20s, maybe around 30, 28, 30, right around there. But that freezing for such a sustained amount of hours overnight just really wreaked havoc on those poor, I came out and the shriveled leaves all over the place, and they look like they're all crispy. Like I was like, it's been raining too, so I know they've been getting plenty of water. And it's like, oh, the freeze has totally got them.
Well, in this time of year, that's so typical of Colorado, but a lot of areas, and this warmth that so many of us have had has really thrown off our normal schedule. And it's so easy to get sucked into that false spring and to start putting things out in the garden. We all end up doing it, but it's normal for many of us to have a cold at the end of April and even the beginning of May. So, it's kind of a shock of reality that says, this is where you live and you got to get used to it.
Yeah. And the real issue for me, though, is that it got down below more than what it said it was going to. I was thinking, it was going to get down in the low 30s, possible frost. And if it's on there, maybe we get an hour or two over the night where, I was thinking, okay, with those. And it's especially like my Chicago hardy fig, it's basically in ground anymore.
Yeah.
That thing, I put it in one of those big tub pots or whatever years ago, and I tried to move it like last season or something, and I'm like, Oh no, it's went
There to
through.
stay.
It's there to stay now. So there's no moving that thing. But I had a couple of the others. I was like, okay, it's only gonna be. I think they'll be okay. They'll be all right. And so I brought in like my citrus trees. I brought in a couple of other things that I have that I'm like, okay, I'll make sure they're gonna be okay. But I was like, they'll be all right. And then boy, that temperature dipped way
Yeah.
below what it was anticipating to do, and so I got caught up with that for sure. I should have brought those other two in, or at least got them underneath of something. But the damage isn't too bad. I
That's
mean,
good.
it's got a bunch of shriveled leaves for sure, but I'm sure, especially that Chicago Hardy is going to get going like crazy here again and putting out new leaves and all new branches and all sorts of stuff. So we'll lose a bunch of leaves in the long run, but it'll regain its strength here real soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. What else is going on since we saw you last here on the show? I mean, again, you got to be getting more.
I'm getting antsy. I did actually put
Yeah.
some beet seeds in.
Okay, there we
and
go.
The beets germinated pretty well, and they actually made it through the freeze last night. I had them mulched and threw a little bit of extra mulch because I knew the cold was coming. My garlic is still doing great. The fruit trees, I did my investigation of just how bad it was this morning. My apple trees pretty much came through okay. Most of them had blossoms on them. There's still a few that are just starting to bud, but my plum tree and my pear tree and my peach tree, it's possible I lost almost all of the blossoms with this cold.
Oh, that could possibly just all of the blossoms, meaning you might not get anything this year then.
Yeah. So I looked close. It looked like, some of those groups, you might have like 5 or 6 blossoms, and maybe some of the inner ones might have been protected by the death of the outer ones. But that happened last year too. Last year didn't get, I got 3 plums, I think 5 peaches for the whole year for all the trees. And the year before, I had almost 30 pounds of peaches. So that's what happens here in Colorado. The late freeze really determines what kind of fruit tree year you're going to have based on how cold it actually gets.
Yeah, for sure. I know. Again, the idea of losing all of your fruit, which now makes me worried now because I'm really thinking, I'm like, no, I don't know. Now I'm worried.
Yeah, but I got a lot of stuff. I potted up my peppers this morning. So I had started peppers a couple weeks ago, and they've all got 2 to 3 sets of leaves. So I've got all of them in pots. I started tomatoes last week, and they're all coming up nice and strong. So all the stuff indoors is good. That's one of the benefits of starting indoors.
What do you think of what Robin says here? She says, I might dig out Christmas lights.
Yes,
Might have too much else to protect.
Incandescent Christmas lights. You can actually go to Colorado State University. The Extension Service has a fact sheet about how to protect the plants. And they did some experiments about 20 years ago now, actually probably closer to 25 years ago. And they had hoops over beds and covered them with plastic and covered them with double plastic and covered them with the Mylar space blankets and used the Christmas lights. And they were able to keep warm season plants growing underneath the hoops and the Mylar with the Christmas lights with the temperature at 5 degrees.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But I think you mentioned an important note there too, is that we're talking like incandescent Christmas lights, right?
Yeah,
a lot of the ones that you're
heat.
a lot of the ones you're gonna find out at the store anymore are LEDs, and they just don't put very much warmth or heat out at all, really. So they're not going to do the best. So like if you're thinking, oh, I'll go get some Christmas lights, you want to find old school. I don't even know if you can find them being sold anywhere.
Yeah, maybe at a thrift store or something. I don't know the last time I actually saw any available in the store.
Yeah. Maybe put an ad out in your local area if someone's got some in their old closet somewhere from back in the day or something, and get some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good way for sure. All right, let's see here. We also have another question already starting in. So remember, everybody, this is getting all of your gardening questions answered here with Gardener Scott. We got to take advantage of having him here on the show and make sure we get some good information out to you guys. So if you have any questions or anything you want to know about what's growing on in your garden, definitely jump into our chat here. And we'll ask Gardener Scott today. Colorado Clouds, someone who's nearby you here, asks, how do you manage intense UV at this elevation? Do you recommend shade cloth? And if so, what percentage do we build? What does it say? I'm sorry. We have built a 21 by 9 polycarbonate. I can't even speak today. Polycarbonate greenhouse from a kit. We're in what's that, Briargate?
Yeah, that's near me here in Colorado Springs. And so Colorado Clouds, you can check out some of my videos because I have my greenhouse. I'm not too far from you, and I show exactly that. I use shade cloth in my greenhouse because of the intensity. I also use shade cloth in the garden. So I'll put hoops over my plants. I have tall hoops for my tomato plants, and I'll cover those with shade cloth as well. I use 20 to 30% because in the middle of summer, we're sometimes getting close to 100 degrees. The sun is intense. My garden's at 7,000 foot elevation. And so the shade cloth really makes a difference. I have another garden area, large 25 by 25 foot area, and I've got it covered with hail cloth. And the hail cloth also, it's closer to like a 10% shade cloth, but it still makes a big difference to keep the plants from frying and getting too hot. So we are closer to the sun, of course, a mile closer than most of you all.
Right.
And it can get very intense. So I'll do.
Not only is the oxygen lighter up there, but the heat's more the light is more intense.
The light is much more intense. But I'll also do some strategic shading. And so, with the fencing that I've started putting up in the last year, with the gazebo that I have in my garden, with the fruit trees that are now starting to get bigger, those are all specifically located to help shade different areas of the garden as the sun moves across the sky. And so particularly the afternoon heat, I have my garage. And so a lot of my flowering plants that benefit from shade in the afternoon, I have placed close to a structure like my garage. So the structure shade, plant shade, and shade cloth really are major strategies that I use.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, there's a question just popped up real quick. Let's QQQQ. Have you ever sprayed vinegar on the weeds around the garden? Poison ivy is creeping around.
I have.
What do you think of vinegar?
So the biggest issue with the vinegar is that if you use the vinegar you get at the supermarket, it's not really going to do much good. It doesn't have the strength. It's strong enough to kill the leaves, but it's not strong enough to kill the roots of most weeds. And poison ivy is
big,
just
thick-rooted ones.
Exactly. And so you can spray it on poison ivy and it'll probably kill most of the leaves, but it's not going to kill the plant. You have to actually go to the industrial strength vinegar, which has warnings on it against, getting it on your skin and being careful.
Breathing it in, wearing masks.
And that can be, a little more difficult to find. But that can work. It depends on the plant and when you apply it. And I haven't ever done the 30% strength, the really heavy stuff. I've used the household stuff basically just to prove. I was going to do a video about it, but never released the video, but just to show that you could spray vinegar on weeds like dandelions and it looks like it kills it. But then a couple weeks later, all the leaves and the flowers are back. So,
just like when you pluck the dandelion, you think you've pulled it out, but that root's behind there. Those things are so hardy when it comes to whatever damage they can handle, for sure.
But for young seedlings in areas, like in rock areas or pathways, Yeah, even a full strength application of household vinegar can work on a young seedling before it gets established.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Yeah, definitely be looking at that. And I haven't tried any of it with as far as like the higher percentages of vinegar that you can get. I haven't tried any of that. But I've even gone out and just kind of not even diluted it or anything. I've just done straight vinegar on some things and still haven't found it to take out things like you want them to.
Yeah, and you
What
can see
about concerns of like
recommendations.
where you're putting them? Like one of the things I see when people will get into comments talking about when people are suggesting using vinegar and salt and water
Yeah, exactly. I
as a
was going
thing.
to say, you mix it with a little bit of salt, you mix it with dish soap, and the idea is, it dries out the leaf and it has a stronger effect, but it really doesn't. And what you're doing is now adding salt to the soil, which
Mhm.
is not going to be good for any other plants you've got growing nearby.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing we want to be careful about how close or what we're doing within our actual growing space or growing area. And, like I said, really when it comes down to it, if you're going to use something like that, maybe for walkways,
Yeah.
gravel paths, things like that, where you're not growing things and growing food and stuff like that. If you can get and try maybe a higher concentration, because I've done it in my little walkways and out in the gravel areas and things like that, just to experiment with just directly using just straight vinegar and never really had much. I mean, like you said, things look like they die off a little bit, but it doesn't really do much good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that sense of those really hardy ones. Okay, let's see here. Got another question. Big Will Dog in the comments here. Have you ever lived in an HOA neighborhood as a gardener? If so, did your gardening change because of the HOA? How do you
I
feel about
have.
that? I mean, yeah, you have.
So I
Okay.
approach things a little bit differently than I think a lot of people living in HOAs. And so I lived in an HOA about 15 years ago now, and it didn't have repressive rules for the most part, and I was able to start a garden and get it going. And some of my very first videos 15 years ago are at that location. But there were some rumblings about people not liking the neighbor across the street who had rabbits, and the one down the street who had chickens, and some of the greenhouse discussion that was going on. So I actually got on the HOA board and ended up getting elected president and helping to rewrite some of the bylaws to be gardening friendly. And that's the approach I take, is not to just sit back and let someone tell me how to garden. I'm going to get in there and tell them that the way I'm gardening is not a problem. They just need to be educated in it. And I'm actually in an area now that technically has an HOA, but I don't know, 10 years ago, I think, before I moved here, the policing organization of the HOA, the ones that actually set up the fines and determine who's breaking the bylaws, disbanded. So even though technically I'm in an HOA, there's nobody to say one way or the other. And my greenhouse is a good example of that, that if the HOA was active, I would have had to go through the whole process to get it approved, and I would have done that. But it's so much easier if you just are smart about it and do the right thing so that you don't give anyone a reason to complain.
Yeah. Those are other good tactics in an HOA scenario. And one of the things I would say though too is be the whatever your HOA's board or whoever's getting elected onto these sort of things, be their best friends.
Exactly.
I mean, stop by their house, ask them if they need some help, bring them a pie. Well, you do whatever you have to do to be their best friend. That way, when things come around, you've got some support on whatever board you're living in, and you can be, kind of nudge some rule changes in your direction, right?
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with the tactic of just being really, really nice.
Yeah, and for the most part, gardeners are nice.
Yeah. It's just, it's just a few people every now and then that do the same thing themselves, though, on the opposite direction, right? You might have that one person on the HOA board who's just, persnickety about anything going on in the neighborhood and just want to point and do this and that. Well, you edge them out of favorability within the board,
Exactly.
right? Edge them out. Get
Yeah.
in there and get up in front of them and shake some hands and do some things. And that way, when they're saying things, you've got people to back up and support you as well, too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably your best strategy in any of those HOA situations for sure.
Yeah, it's worked for me, and it doesn't work everywhere, but I've been lucky enough that it's worked for me.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent. Let's see here. Grey Gardens popped in here asking, wondering if Epsom salt at a high rate would work too. So I guess it's kind of coming back to the vinegar and
The
salt
weed
type
idea.
of thing. Yeah, and the weeds.
Yeah, Epsom salt, that's one of those things that it is a salt technically, and different types of salts have different effects on plants. But Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, and sulfur is a macronutrient that all plants need, and magnesium is also an element that all plants need. And so
Yeah.
you might actually be putting some elements in the soil that could boost the growth of some of those plants you're trying to get rid of. The actual salt portion of Epsom salts is not as detrimental as like sodium chloride when it comes to how the plants respond.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, right on, everybody. Let's get some garden questions. I know you got some really pending questions for your garden going on right now that you need to know about. So drop those into our conversation here. So, what all do you got growing on right now? Have you getting things started up for some of your summer garden stuff
Oh
going
yeah.
yet? Like
Yeah.
seedlings and things like that?
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of different flowers that I've been starting over the course of the last month or so. Everything
Yeah.
from daisies to echinacea to rudbeckia, just all different types. I actually have flowers on my petunias right now.
Oh, wow.
I did a video about growing pansies and petunias, and I wanted to try to time it because when you go to the store, the big box store or the nursery about this time for many of us in colder areas, you start seeing pansies and petunias and things like that for sale, and they're all in flower. And so I wanted to start my own and just figure out when I could get them to flower. And sure enough, my petunias are flowering right now. I just saw that this morning. So as
Yeah.
soon as we get over this cold spell, I'll be moving some of those annual flowers outside. But then I've got a whole bunch of perennials, some native flowers that are growing, and then the peppers. This is one of those things. I double seeded a 72 cell tray of peppers, and for the most part, almost all of them germinated, and some, 3 seeds will fall into. But I've got about 150 pepper seedlings that are ready to go out. I put them
150.
Yeah, I doubled them up, and so I actually did 3 different trays. So I've got 54 pots of peppers. That's what I was doing earlier today,
Oh, excellent.
and they all have 2 to 3 pepper plants in each of them. And then the same with tomatoes. It looks like I've got about 100 tomato seedlings that are all coming up and growing right now. So it's pretty active down in my grow room.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I've got a bunch of the pepper seedlings are going right here. I actually got a couple of the
There you go.
tomatoes right here. They're waiting patiently to go get out into the garden space here real soon. I'm glad I kind of waited past that frost day though too, but real soon. 150 pepper plants.
Yeah.
Is this something you're going to do? I mean, like you're going to take to a garden club or something and share with
Yeah,
folks
so my
and
garden
that sort
club
of thing?
has a plant sale every year, so a good portion of those are going to go to the plant sale. I've got family and friends that I share with every year, so some of them I'll keep almost all for myself. So I'll probably be growing about 50 pepper plants this year based on my current plan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Any special varieties in that 150? Anything
Yeah.
different or?
Yeah, so I actually got some seeds from Baker Creek that are all Native American seeds, like from Central America and Mexico for the most part. So some hot chili peppers that have history going back centuries for some of them. So
Yeah.
peppers I've never grown before. One of the varieties, Pepecito, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
I have a family member who loves, and so I'm growing a bunch of those plants. But yeah, it's a lot of new plants. I'm growing again. I grew the Hungarian pepper plants,
Yeah.
and I'm growing a lot of those again just because they're delicious peppers.
Yeah, yeah. I'm taking on a whole well, I said it's not necessarily a new project, but I'm restarting a project I started several years ago. A friend Christopher Bransdal over in Norway sent me over seeds for Sugar Rush peach many years ago. And I grew those out, and one of the plants produced a pod that had in because like Sugar Rush are like ahi varieties, so they got like a pointy, like a long kind of pointy kind of pepper pod. But it produced one of these ones where the pointy end was inverted, so it was kind of puckered up into the pod and everything. So I saved seeds from that one and planted those out the next year and got a couple of more that were very similar and saved seeds. And I did like a couple of generations of saving those and got into the where the plant was producing like a good handful or so of those pod varieties like that. So my project now is went back and got some of those last seeds that I saved from the last ones, and I planted them out last year and grew out one of the plants, and it seemed like it was pretty close to about 40% of the plant was producing these pods like that. So I was like, oh, I think we were getting somewhere with that, right?
Cool.
So starting the project back up. So my idea is now is to see how many generations I can get growing of these over the next season or two to see if I can't really get some of those plants to really hold on to that genetic change or that, so
That's
maybe
cool.
I'll have my own variety of Sugar Rush peach that I can share with people down the road.
And I've had great success with the Sugar Rush peach. It's a great pepper. I've been doing that with a tomato, and I think I'm at generation 5 now. But generally 7 generations is what a lot of the plant growers will say for the genetics to stabilize.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that maybe I'm looking to maybe, get up into a high percentage when the plants are really producing a bunch of those regular ones, then maybe I'll get a few more generations out after that to see how well it holds on to them and that. But I think we're about 4 in now. So good few more generations, and I'm gonna just grow them as soon as they get up, save those seeds, start them right up. Hopefully I can get a couple generations each season over the next couple seasons, and maybe see where we're at with those. But yeah, what a fun kind of project to have when something kind of little funky kind of shows up on one of your plants and you just want to kind of see where you can take it, right? Yeah. Again, fun. Some of the fun experimenting we can do with things in our garden for sure. All right, let's see here. Let's get back in here and get some questions going. Wickershire Projects asks, Gardener Scott, how many native, finger quotes, natural Colorado garden species that produce have you purposefully planted in the backyard, if any, making native gardening easy? So native Colorados.
Yeah, so I've grown a lot of grasses and flowers, some native flowers to Colorado in recent years, but I hooked up with a Colorado nursery. It's actually on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, and have a whole bunch of Colorado beans and Colorado tomatoes, and and tomatoes aren't necessarily native to Colorado, but varieties that have been grown in Colorado for a very long time. But some flowers and some peppers, and don't ask me for the names because I'm just now starting to get to those seeds. But probably about 12 to 15 new plants this year that I'm getting from this Colorado grower that have some type of connection as a Colorado native.
Yeah. And again, too, this is something I'm learning more about from season to season now in the last recent seasons, but kind of the importance of kind of supporting natives within the spaces that we have, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
it's a good thing for us gardeners to do, even if we're growing food as our primary, gardening, task. Putting in natives and things like that are also a good support system for your garden, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because most of the regions have their own very specific plants, very specific insects, both the beneficial insects and the pest insects. And so if you grow the native plants, you're inviting in a lot of those predatory insects. And they're coming because of that plant you have, because that plant might have a particular pest. Well, that same pest is probably elsewhere in your garden. So by encouraging those native plants, you're benefiting all those non-native plants as well that might be attacked by pests or that need a little boost from some of the maybe beneficial pollinators, for example.
Yeah. So definitely get more natives into your gardens, native flowering plants, and really, encourage those pollinators and
Yeah.
other, pest deterrents by, getting some integrated pest management in a way. Encourage other pests to come prey on those that are preying on your plants for sure, right?
Exactly.
And natives can really help out with that for sure. All right, let's see here. Let's see. I know we got some questions.
Yeah, let's have a bunch pop up.
LG, yeah. When is the best time to spray fruit trees? I had worms for the first time last year. Garner Scott, should I spray the clay or BT?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on
the
the pest. And so there are some pests that bore into the trunk, and there are some pests that are chewing on the leaves, and there are some pests that are going into the fruit. So a lot of it depends on the pest because, for instance, a pest that might be burrowing into the fruit, if you spray too early, then the pest hasn't even shown up yet. And so that timing is important. The same with pests that might be boring into a trunk. You have to do it at the right point of their life cycle. So it really depends on the type of tree and the type of pest. BT is great and can be used almost any time. So BT is Bacillus thuringiensis. It's a biological control of bacteria. And so you'll spray it on leaves, and then that really only works for the type of insect that is going to eat that leaf. So BT is great for caterpillars. And a lot of caterpillars might be on the leaf, eating the leaf before they bore into the fruit. They might eat the leaf and then the adult lays an egg in the fruit. It depends on the type of insect. So yeah, BT can definitely be good. I think, was she asking about diatomaceous earth too? Same type of thing. That works for certain insect
or is
pests.
there a clay, right?
Clay. I'll say so.
Yeah.
The same basic idea where it's not diatomaceous earth, but the clay is one of those that you might spray on leaves of different types of plants to discourage pests that are going to be attacking. So identify the pest, and then that'll help you figure out exactly when. Check with the extension office, because the regional extension offices can give you pretty precise timing based on the pests you have and which control you want to use.
Yeah. Okay. Dusty Flask asks, wonder if I need to put low hoops under low tunnel plast to add frost cloth as plants are too tender. So they must be in a kind of a low tunnel and want to put maybe extra little row covers or something even within that. Is that something that during some of these really hard frost freezing times that
it really can. It basically gives you double protection, and the air in between the two hoops acts as an insulator, basically, assuming you can get it mostly closed up, both the inner and the outer. And so putting like a frost cloth or any type of the low tunnels that you might put on that are cloth based, put that on inside and then cover that with plastic. And you can gain a few extra degrees, and that may be all that you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess this would be at this time of year would be more of like trying to get plants that you're starting earlier in your low tunnels versus
Yeah.
extending a season out longer.
Well, and it can be done on both sides.
Yep.
Generally, plastic, a thick sheet of plastic will gain 3 to 4 degrees. So if you're just getting down to freezing, then that puts you 3 degrees above freezing. If you add a second layer, then you can often get another 3 degrees or so. So, you could get down to a hard freeze of 28 degrees. And if you've got a double plastic or fabric protection over it, essentially you're keeping those plants from freezing at all.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Wickershire asks, I love this question here. What is a plant that is a nightmare as a master gardener to grow in your area? You've tried a few times and just said this is a 100% no-go.
Yeah,
anything that you just can't do and you just won't do anymore.
I used to say okra. Okra was one that I just tried and tried and tried. And then last year I had a great okra year. So I used to say okra was my nemesis. But it took 5 or 6 different seasons over the course of about 15 years before everything worked. And it wasn't all that I was doing. It was just the weather cooperated. And that's the biggest issue I have, is just the weather is so bad. We're talking to the Desert Rat about watermelons, and big watermelons and big beefsteak tomatoes. It just doesn't happen here in Colorado.
Can't do it up there, huh?
Unless you do things like the plastic protection under hoops and try to extend the season.
Late extension. Yeah.
Because there's always one day, in the spring and in the fall, and that day was yesterday for me. Last night. There's that one day in spring where it gets so cold that it defines the whole season. And like I was talking earlier with my fruit trees, whether they produce or not, is because of last night. It's that simple. And then it happens again in fall. There's usually one night in late September or early October, and that essentially ends the season. So master gardeners here locally recognize that they can extend the season with all that extra effort and that extra protection. But if you don't do that, then there's no way you can grow a lot of those simple plants that many other people grow without even thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I'm now worried because I got out there and I was looking at those and I saw that, I didn't go around checking some of them. I'm so worried now. I'm going to go out there and find so much other problems with some of my other fruit trees and all that, because it's the same here. It was over the last couple of nights that we had these just freezes. It got so much lower than what he was even anticipating. So again, like you said, it could be season defining for sure. Now I'm worried. I don't even know. I don't even want to go out there and look now, Scott.
You got to go look sometime.
I got to do it, right? Exactly. All right, let's see here. Big Will Dog, yes. I have many flowering plants meant for pollinators, but frequently I'm dealing with wasps and yellow jackets. What is your suggestion for ridding myself of wasps and yellow jackets? Ridding yourself?
My first thing is don't.
No.
Wasps, there are so many beneficial wasps.
They're so beneficial. Yeah.
And they, believe it or not, they can pollinate flowers. There's a lot of wasps that are going after other insects on a plant, and in the process they're pollinating it. And so wasps are predators. Now, yellow jackets are annoying because they get in your food and all the rest of it. But the same thing,
and they like to
Yeah, they've got a purpose. They're also, they'll also serve as food. My dog Mala loves eating the yellow jackets, but
oh my gosh, really?
So trapping.
Do we get any swollen tongues or anything?
No, it's surprising. The only one says she had her lip that has swollen up. But if you can't live with them, and I encourage that you try to live with them, then trapping. That's the most efficient way to get rid of wasps and yellow jackets. you can, get some of those little plastic traps, and then either use a scent that they have or put a little bit of meat in there. There's all kinds of things you can do, and that'll help keep them away from your outside picnic relatively efficiently. And then also take away some of their homes. I keep brush piles and grass piles around partly to attract wasps, because they like those kind of areas. So clean up your garden so they don't have any place to set up a nest. And if you see like paper wasps, starting to put something on the eave of your house, knock it down before it becomes an issue. Basically, just don't give them any place to set up residency. And you can definitely limit the numbers that you have, but I just let them be. And I wear gloves in the garden, because there's been a lot of piles I've stuck my hand into and discovered that that's where the wasps were.
Right. Yeah. And again, too, maybe another strategy is to make sure you have these types of piles and these things strategically placed in areas where they could be, and allow the wasps to be a bit more beneficial.
I do it around
really
the edges.
trying to keep around the house, beat down the little nests around the house. And like you said, a little picnic, maybe little fireplace areas you have in your yard and stuff, but strategically try to get them in places, right? Because they are such a good thing to have. That, and again, I know they're scary too, because I always say this as well too, is that I was definitely from when I was a little kid, and even up into being a gardener for a while. I mean, I'm one of those people that something starts buzzing me and I'm running. I was running. I'm like, get me away from this thing. And I've come to learn a lot more through gardening and growing my garden about how beneficial they are and what they really do, and really in the fact that even the yellow jackets, for the most part, really aren't there to be messing with you. You know what I mean? They're out there doing their work. They got food. They got a job to do themselves. They got to eat. They got to do things and stuff. So they're out working. And a lot of their work is, and you'll see them flying around in and around your leaves and your plants and stuff, looking for those little caterpillars, looking for those little things. They're up and underneath of there, so they can go get those things for you. And in that case, man, I'm gonna back away, let you do your work, because that's less I've got to worry about in my garden. Right on. Excellent. Good question, Will. Thank you so much, everybody, for the great questions today. If you got some questions, drop them into our chat here. Let's see. We've got Wickershire asking, what amendment was recommended to apply, if any, that was deficient in your local soil or was on the low side?
So nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus were all pretty low in my garden. A lot of the other elements, like the magnesium and the sulfur and the calcium and the manganese and the copper, actually are in adequate quantities in my soil. And so, recommendations for primarily nitrogen, because I had the test done through the Colorado State University, which is tied to extension. And then, some other recommendations for, because my pH was on the high side. And so some sulfur applications to bring the pH down. But the approach I took, it was to just add a bunch of organic matter. And the organic matter helps buffer the pH. It also helps raise the nutrient levels of almost everything. And I show that. So 7 years ago, when I started my garden, one of the very first videos I did was the soil test and talk about the deficiency. And then 3 years later, I did a soil test of my bed, a couple beds, and showed that in a video. And the numbers were just off the chart as far as how much the nutrient levels had increased by just simply adding organic matter and compost and building up the soil.
Yeah. And compost just makes such a big change to soils, for sure. And again, you saw that just within a couple of seasons.
It from what I've experienced, it takes about 4 years to really get your soil built up, assuming you're amending it every year. At about the 4-year point, you really can kind of just sit back and just let it do its job.
Yeah. Right. Oh, let's see. Sereno's asking again about peppers. Are you growing paprika this year? So, how many plants? How many are
Yeah.
needed
So
to grow a
the
decent amount of paprika to make seasoning?
Yeah, the video that I made last year about making paprika, I grew 6 different types of Hungarian pepper.
Mhm.
This year I'm only doing 2. The Lesia in particular is just looking great this morning.
Oh, yeah. Those are
But
awesome.
yeah, I'll be making some more paprika with the peppers that I really found I liked from the batch. And you know, I grew so many peppers, and I made a lot of paprika, but I freeze dried a lot of the peppers as well. So I still have
Oh,
peppers from
wow.
last year that I can make paprika powder out of. And so I'm growing the peppers that I needed more of to basically kind of balance out what I already
Yeah,
have
you might
freeze
have to
dried.
get that out and grind it up and get it out to those people you're handing out pepper plants to, right?
There you go.
So you can have room for more of it from this year's crop.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, right on. Let's see here. Hendrix in the chat asking, have you found value in processing honey locust pods? Honey locust pods for
Yeah, so honey
compost or
locust is
mulch
a
layer?
tree that is in our area,
Yeah.
and they have pods that just fall everywhere. And
Mm.
so I
Are they like
have
are they like a catalpa in a way where they big, long, almost look
Yeah,
like
it's
little
similar.
bean pods or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
in a way?
it's like a big long bean pod
Okay, yeah.
that sits on the tree. And so I have had them in compost. I had a honey locust tree at a garden 3 gardens ago, and so some of those would make their way into the compost. They break down over time, about the same as like a pine needle. You know, it takes a couple batches of compost. So, like if you finish your compost, you're still going to see pine needles, or you're still going to see the honey locust pods in the compost. And so I use them more as a mulch than I do as an ingredient for compost. And
Mhm.
like in pathways, uh, I've got, in fact, some of my pathways actually have pine needles and the locust pods kind of mixed together. And because
Yeah.
I'm not watering the pathways, I'm not worried about any of those little trees sprouting up. And if they do, they're
Okay,
easy
yeah.
to pull when they're still young.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah. I don't know. I don't like messing with any of the. I mentioned catalpa, like as a similar bean type of thing. We have those growing like crazy all over the place, and man, those things can create such a quick taproot that even the littlest sprouts that you see coming up are so hard to pull out of the ground. It's crazy. So that's the thing I'd be worried about. But they don't present that those
I
particular
haven't
guys don't
seen
present
that.
that
You
type
know,
of
the
problem.
few honey locusts that have popped up around the tree I had were I caught them
Yeah.
early enough. But yeah, I suppose if they get established, it can create a problem.
Yeah, yeah. I've taken like big, huge pliers and tried to rip them out of the ground before, and they're so hard. Those things, man. They get going really well. All right, let's see here. Robin asks, "Have you ever grown passion flower vine?" Packet says germination 14 to 365 days. Holy, that's
Um,
from 14 to
yeah.
365 days. So any time between that is when you could expect it. She says she's 6 weeks in and nothing so far.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
it's funny you say that because I did as an experiment 3 or 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and I gave up at like the 4 or 5 week point because
Right.
it was just taking up space, and I it's like,
Right.
am I
If
really
you
going to
could take
wait?
up to 12 months, I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. But so no, I haven't actually grown it. I did attempt to grow the seeds because I had a packet a few years ago. But yeah, like you, good for you, Robin, to uh, stick with it for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, but yeah, even 6 weeks, it still seems like you might have months ahead of you, so keep with it, keep with it, you might have
Yeah, there you
something.
go. And then let us know. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely, for sure. That's great. Pac-Man in here asking a question, "Is Greenstock going to have a" oh, I bet that's Mother's Day
Mother's Day
sale this
sale, and
year.
yes, they are. You can
Yeah,
expect to see it in just a few days. I'll be
alright.
talking about that on my show on Monday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, yeah, and be sure to use Gardner Scott's code as well too, right?
Yeah,
What's
this
your
is one of
code?
the
What's your Green
Gardner
Scott
Scott.
code? Just
Yeah, that's
Gardner Scott?
Yeah, that's the code. Yeah,
It's easy.
it starts next week, and this is like one of their biggest sales. They'll target individual green stock components at different times of the year, but the Mother's Day sale is always a good one. And yeah, the Gardner Scott code gets you a discount, so it's hard to beat saving money in multiple ways.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, take advantage of that for sure. All right, let's see here. Questions. Since we're on the topic of fruit trees, last year my apple tree full bloomed, that it put a rather deep crack down the trunk. What can I do to help the tree out? Tape it, paint it? Not
True.
sure.
So it
Yeah.
depends on what caused the crack. So
Mhm.
I've got a video. You know, the good sponsor that both you and I have, Organic
Ivy
Ivy
Organic, yeah.
Ivy Organic. Yeah, they have a really good tree paint,
Mhm.
and so I paint my fruit trees to reduce cracking that's caused by temperature variations. So for those of us that live in really cold regions at this time of year, and you know, that last
Mhm.
night was kind of an example of it, where you've got the front side that's facing the sun that is nice and warm, and then you get the back side that's frozen, and that can cause the bark to expand and crack. One of
Yeah.
the ways to reduce that is with a white paint like Ivy Organic, and that helps reflect some of the sun and helps reduce cracking. So it's it's not as effective after it's cracked, because you
Mhm.
really want to try to use it before the crack, and you might consider painting areas that haven't cracked yet if that's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
If it is an animal that started chewing on it and the same kind of thing where maybe it expanded and caused a crack, that's another issue where you'd want to put something around the trunk to protect it, to keep animals away from it.
Yeah.
The depth and the width of the crack will determine how quickly the tree recovers from it. And so what I've done on one of my trees was to use a plastic trunk protector around the trunk of the tree, just to keep it from being exposed to the sun and the cold and animals, and just try to make sure that the tree had a less amount of effort trying to recover. Because yeah, a lot of it is just shrugging. There isn't much you can do. You don't really want to like fill the gap with putty or anything like that, because you can create more problems with water being stuck behind something like that and causing some rot to develop. So just allow it to dry out, and the tree will recover in time, and hopefully you can reduce other problems if it's caused by something that paint will help with.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Great stuff. IvyOrganics.com. Go check it out. It's good stuff here. Let's see. Methydicus, Albrighticus. Any ideas about 10-20 trays invaded by sugar ant colonies? Dish soap and water? How do you deal with some ants?
So this is
ants
actually
are
one of
everywhere.
those.
They're all over right
Yeah,
now.
this is one of those situations where vinegar actually works pretty well. And so you have the scout ants that say, "Oh, hey, this spot is nice. It's got moist soil, and we can crawl in." And they set up their pheromone trails to whatever it is they're going to, and that's where all the ants follow behind. And so soap and water, cleaning up the area around it, will help eliminate some of those trails. And then spraying vinegar around it too. Vinegar will disrupt the ants that had found that before, and they'll tend to go someplace else. So that's an easy way, is just try to make it so they don't remember where to go because they can't follow the trail.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Wickershire with some questions here. Awesome. Love the questions today, Wickershire. What is the number 1 or 2 spring task you just dread about starting your spring garden prep? I know we all love our garden hobbies, but must accept everything good and bad about it. So yeah, there's some things every now and then it's like, oh, do I really got to get out there and do that?
Yeah.
You got a few of those that you'd kind of dread in the garden?
Yeah, and I've got one, and most of us have a garden shed or garage or something where we put our
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and every year we say we're gonna clean it and we're going to organize it, and
Yeah.
I've been saying that for so long, and I was gonna do a video about it last year and just never got to it, and it's on my list of things to do this year. All the pots are just stacked. At the end of last year, I got a bunch of bags of grass clippings and leaves uh, to
Yeah.
use this year. I always do it the year ahead so that I could use it as mulch and soil amendments in the garden. And I got an extra big batch. I've got big
Wow.
black bags of stuff that are hiding all my pots and tools. And I'm just dreading getting into that shed and cleaning it up to the point that I can actually use it.
Yeah, yeah. Mine is just getting everything in shape. Each and every year, I like to pressure wash and get things cleaned up and do that sort of stuff. But it's such a big task that I always dread it every year. But it's kind of something that just needs to get done in
Yeah.
order to kind of get things cleaned up and looking right and everything. So that's for me. I just those things that just take so much time, I suppose. When
It
comes
is.
down to
It's
right?
not
It's just time
hard.
consuming.
It's just time consuming. And
Yep.
you've got to take everything out, and then you got to put it back, and and it needs to be done. The last time I did it, I discovered tools that I'd forgotten I had. So it
Right.
really is beneficial. It is just one of those annoyances that
Yeah.
I get annoyed at myself for letting it get to that point that it
Right.
needs to be
Exactly. It's like,
cleaned
oh,
out and
come on.
organized. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then therefore we hold it off a little bit longer just because of that, right? Speaking of tools, Wigger Star was also asking, what are 2 hand tools you cannot live without? But you
Yeah.
can
So
only pick 2.
yeah. So they're the two. For me, it's relatively easy. And I did a video about this probably 5 years ago because I always carry during the spring in particular my utility knife. I just have a very simple utility knife, and that's what I've used for years and years and years to cut the twine that I'm using to trellis my tomatoes and vining plants. I use it to cut open bags of whatever ingredients I'm adding to the garden. Just a simple utility knife is my favorite tool that I've used more than anything. And a lot of people will say a hori knife, and that was never in my top 2 until this year. And so this year, I'm using my hori a lot as I'm cleaning up the garden, as I'm using it to dig up and pot up some of the plants in my garden. So those are the 2 tools that I really probably get more use out of than anything else.
Right on, right on. Let's see here. Thanks everybody for the awesome questions today. We got lots of great questions from all of you today. Let's see here. I know there was one other one on here. I think I lost it. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh well. Anyways, thank you so much for all of your awesome questions here today, everybody. It's just really great to be able to get all of those answered for you. I know there were several in there that we probably didn't get to. I know the chat is just so crazy today. There's so many people having such a great conversation today. So if I missed any of your questions, I do apologize. But thanks everyone for all of your really awesome questions today. Scott, before we let you go, though, let's talk about a little bit of what you've got growing on over there at Gardener Scott. Let's talk about a couple of your last videos here real quick. Your last video, actually, tell us a little bit about the Mill Food Recycler.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of other people doing a review on this as well, too.
Oh, I know there are a few other videos out there. I haven't watched much of what's out there. Because I wanted a nice, honest review. I didn't want to see what other people were saying about it, so that it might, persuade me one way or another. But I've used it for over a month now, and used it for a month before I did the video to talk about it. And you basically just dump almost everything from your kitchen into it, and it grinds it up, and it heats it up, and it basically creates these little food granules. They kind of look like coffee grounds, and you add it to the garden. Now, it's not compost, it's just grinding and drying the food particles so that you don't have to throw
Okay.
things out in your trash and fill up the landfill. But what's incredible is like avocado seeds are
Mm.
ground up, and fish
Mm.
heads and
Oh,
chicken
wow.
bones and skin from chickens and fish and all those kind of things that you could put into a compost pile, but most people recommend against it. You can put all that stuff into the mill and grind it up, and it is incredible, the
Yeah.
results. So I am really excited by it because I'm able to produce quite a bit of stuff and then put it in my garden. Now, it is
Mhm.
costly, and it does take more electricity than just a simple tool. But from my perspective, I was asked that about today, saying, you know, it's not worthwhile because it costs too much. I'll just go buy my compost. And
Mhm.
that's what I've done for a
Yeah.
lot of years, but you don't know the source of that compost. And the
Right.
compost that I've been using in seed starter or in my potting mix earlier this year, the plants just did terrible. And I think it's because it was a bad batch of compost. You just don't know what it's contaminated with and where it comes from. And this is one of those ways where you can put something into your garden beds and know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
speeds up the composting process because all the particles are very, very small and will break down very, very quickly. So
Yeah,
that's
and that
what the
is the
video is
thing,
about.
though, is like you said, they're not composted, so you're gonna add this in, and then it's going to, again, in very small particles, though, but it's gonna break down then after you add
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, definitely go back and check out Gardner Scott's video on that, as well as a couple of other of your recent videos. Is one on where to put your greenhouse,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
sometimes you've got to like, where do I put this greenhouse? What would you say would be like one consideration? I know you probably
Well,
got
and
a lot
so,
that you
the
talk about in
greenhouse
your
I
video.
have in my yard was very easy to figure out.
Yeah.
You put it in full sun with a long side facing south so that you get the most sun into your greenhouse on level ground. And that's basically all you got to worry about is sun, level ground, and you put a greenhouse in. But
Mhm.
a new garden that I'm working with in town is on a slope,
Yeah.
and it's got trees, and it's hard to find full sun. And that's
Yep.
what I talk about in that video is sometimes it's not as easy. You
Yeah.
see that a lot on YouTube, that, Enoch, that you
Mm.
see how easy it is to garden and how
Yeah.
easy it is to do everything because that's
Yep.
what people are filming and that's what they're making videos about. But how many of the people watching this today have a big flat area to garden in? And that's what the video is about, is those considerations when you don't have an ideal spot but you still want to do a greenhouse.
Mhm.
And it's shocking. I know I shocked
Yeah.
some people when I said this, but we're taking down a tree. It's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Oh.
tree cutters are coming and taking down like 40 and 50-foot tall pine trees so that
Oh.
we can put a greenhouse in. That's how important it is to have a
Yeah.
greenhouse versus a tree that is just creating a mess in a yard and it's not
Yeah.
serving any purpose anymore.
Yeah,
Beautiful
and
tree.
yeah.
It's tough, but for gardeners,
Mhm.
you have to make that decision sometimes. How important is gardening to you, and what are you willing to do to garden?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes they gotta go in a particular spot, not where we want them to be or where we would
Exactly.
like them to be. There's an optimal space and place within your own property that they would probably work out the best. So those are the
And yeah,
things
and
we gotta be thinking
that's what
about.
I talk about in that video is exactly that. The
Mhm.
optimum spot is right next to a tree, and the tree would cause trouble. So therefore, to have it in the optimum spot, the tree has to go. Most people
Yeah.
choose a non-optimum spot for a
Yeah.
greenhouse, and then they never use the greenhouse because they can't grow anything in it because it's not in the right spot.
Yeah. So go check out those videos over on the video page over at the Gardner Scott channel. And also one of the other ones you said, how long do raised beds last? That's probably something you want to know. So go and check those out for all you raised bed gardeners out there. Live streams. Gardner Scott does his own live stream on Monday morning. We usually say tomorrow, but it's Saturday now. So you got to wait till Monday morning. But I believe it's 8 a.m. Pacific, right? 11 a.m. For all of you on the East Coast. But Gardner Scott does his own live stream. So if you didn't get your questions answered today on our show today, you can go over and get those questions answered Monday morning for his live stream. A couple of recent live streams, how to enjoy gardening. I like that topic. How to enjoy gardening is a great conversation. One I wanted to get into with you, but we'll probably have to wait until next time. I'll probably bring it up or something. But you had Tony O'Neill on with you to talk about his new app. Gardening and AI and all that sort of stuff is a big topic right now, but we'll hold on. We'll save that one for the next time around, because the one thing about having you here the week after here on the third week is now we are a week closer to having you back on again the next time. Go. Right. So we'll get that, make sure that's a topic for our next conversation for sure. Okay. But also I want to remind everybody too, Gardner Scott is an author. He's an author of a really great book about raised bed gardening, your guide to raised bed gardening. So links down below to Gardner Scott's channel and a link to get yourself a copy of the guide to raised bed gardening. Well, right on, Scott. Here we are again. Another great show, another great conversation. Really appreciate you coming and joining with us on the Saturday show this time.
Well, I'm glad you could work with my schedule, and it's always good to be here, and I'll see you next month.
Yeah. And like I said, it's going to be a little shorter time period. Instead of 4 weeks away, I think we're only about 3 weeks away. So we'll have you right back again here real soon. Thanks again, Scott, for being here with us today. It's just really always awesome to have you on the show for such a great conversation and answering everybody's gardening questions.
Thanks, Enoch, and thanks to everybody. And I'll see you on Monday.
See you Monday.
Bye-bye.
So, all right, there we go. Another fantastic show in the books here today. We got to meet Jamie from Desert Rat Gardener earlier on our Are You Following Me? And we got to get all of our gardening questions answered from our good friend, Master Gardener, Gardner Scott, from the Gardner Scott channel today. Again, thanks to our guests for joining with us today. Definitely check out their links down below. Go let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. I did mention to you what we got coming up for the rest of the weekend. We've got Emily Murphy on the show tomorrow for our book club. Mark Boucher Colbert, our friend Mr. NBC, will be joining us live for the book club tomorrow. You'll definitely want to come and join us for that conversation and discussion on Emily's really great book, Grow Now. So going to be a great Sunday edition of the show tomorrow. And then again, we're back Monday evening for the Green Room with our good friend Natalie from the Fresh Princess, our co-host, Julia Demakos, the gardening girl, and Shawnee Grows will be joining with us as guests for the Green Room coming up. And this is usually the part of the show where I'll tell you about what's coming up next week. I don't got much to say about what's coming up next week. I'm going to get something figured out for sure. If not, I'll be hanging out with you all this next coming Saturday. And again, we'll have something going on. We'll have something growing on here for the Let's Get Growing show. I just have nothing I can really tell you about ahead of time. And as far as all the other stuff goes, Monday, come and join with us for the Green Room, and we'll let you know what we got coming up next week as well, too. So again, we'll have some stuff happening for all of you here, as we always do every weekend here on the show. But again, everybody, thank you for being here today. And if you can, real quick before you head out, click that like button, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, share with all your friends, and let them know that we are your 3-day gardening weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show. And like I said, definitely follow all the links down below. And we'll see all of you for the book club tomorrow. All right. We'll see all of you then.
the ugliest plant in the world, but I love it.